He has the only quarterback signed through the 2024 season in the NFL right now. He's Howie Roseman of the Philadelphia Eagles. How are you, Howie?
I'm doing great, Rich. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Let's get right down to it. Why did you go ahead and sign Wentz earlier than a lot of folks expected, Howie?
Well, we think that it was inevitable that we were going to sign Carson to a contract extension. It was something that we wanted to do. We know how talented he is. We know how he fits on and off the field for us. So the sooner we were able to commit to it, the better chance we had of keeping the rest of the team together and being able to take some of those cap charges in the years that he had left on his rookie deal, and hopefully, as we move forward here, being able to surround him with a bunch of good players and make another run at a championship.
And in terms of signing him when you did you take into account or factor that other quarterbacks, obviously one in your division with Dak in Dallas and the guy who was drafted directly in front of him in Los Angeles in Goff, that if you get in right now that you might get a better price for your player, Howie?
Well, the great part about doing deals early is there's risk on both sides. And so those are usually the best opportunities to find win-win situations. We understood that when you're talking about the kind of money that we committed to this player, that there's no discount. It's full price. And at the same time, we were excited about being able to do that, lock it in, and figure out going forward the best way to surround him. But certainly you look at all the circumstances around, and the history of the league, it's no secret, says that as you move forward and the cap moves forward, prices go up.
And then we see the number, what the contract is, and a lot of fans see that and think that you are now going to be a bit hamstrung, and as you pointed out, to surround Carson with guys and re-sign guys that you've already surrounded Carson with because of how much he costs. How would you respond to that, Howie?
The thing we have to do is we got to continue to get more draft picks. The last couple of years, based on some of the trades that we made, and certainly wouldn't change those circumstances to give us the best chance to compete and win, we traded some draft picks. And going forward, we know we need more draft picks. We got to hit on those draft picks at a higher percentage. Now, the draft, it's a crapshoot. You know, as you go through the draft, even when you're in the first round, your percentage rate's not like, you're in the first round, you got an 80% hit rate. Especially, hopefully, you're picking in the bottom third of the round. But the more opportunities you get, the more shots you get at that lottery, the better chance you get. So that's on us. That's on me to make sure that we continue to get more picks. And with some of the free agent losses that we had this year, we already know that next year in the draft we'll have more picks. And hopefully I can have the patience to not trade those picks for players like maybe we've done in the past.
Right. And obviously part
Keep
of the
me off the phone. Keep me off the phone.
Well, I guess that's what I'm doing right now, keeping you on the phone with me.
Great. I'll talk to you instead of the 31 other GMs in the league.
See, this is a win-win for you and for me then, Howie. See, we're...
I know. I like the action, though, Rick. Yeah. I do like the action. No doubt about it.
I bet you do. That's part of the reason why you do what you do. But so the interesting part about a draft pick, obviously, is the player is cost-effective compared to what else you're talking about. But eventually, though, if you do hit on them, you do have to pay them. So how does it work, the cap hit for Carson, that makes this a win for you and the Philadelphia Eagles in that regard, Howie Roseman?
Well, if you wait 2 more years or you sign a player at the end of his deal, you're not able to prorate some of that charge over a longer period of time. But this has really been our philosophy going back since I've been in Philly, is to try to sign guys, target guys, identify guys. The difference between having guys on your own team and signing guys in free agency is you've lived with them. And so, it's like before you get married, you already live with them. You already know their good and bad habits. And so you know what you're buying. And for us, that we should be able to know our own team the best. And so we're going to continue to try to identify those guys, sign them early. I mean, that's going to be really the crux of how we do things here. And if you go and look back in 2016, the first thing we did before we made the Carson trade, before we got into free agency, is we signed a bunch of our guys to extensions. And we want people here on and off the field to know that if they do the right thing, they do a good job, there's no reason to leave.
Howie Roseman, Executive Vice President of the Philadelphia Eagles, here on the Rich Eisen Show. Your concern about Carson's health is what? How much did you factor that into this contract, Howie?
Carson looks great. We get the opportunity to see him out here every day. Obviously, we have our doctors. We have a team of doctors on every player, not just Carson. So we're fully confident in Carson, and we couldn't be more excited to get this going. I'd like to say that I wish it was September, but after all the action the last few weeks, maybe in a week I could say that better. Maybe get away for a week, and then I'll be really excited for September.
In all seriousness, when it all comes down to it, though, the guy, as we all know, as talented as he is, as special as he is, both on and off the field, has not been able to stay on the field to finish the last couple of seasons. Is that at any concern level at all for you in the front office, Howie?
I think our actions speak louder than our words here, Rich. And, we wouldn't do this if we had any doubt about what Carson's going to do going forward. And, he does a great job in taking care of his body. And like everything in life, your experiences are a great teacher for things that you can do going forward.
And it just, you're the perfect person to ask this. He's an executive vice president of the Eagles, Howie Roseman, here on the Rich Eisen Show. I don't know if you saw I guess a colleague of yours in the NBA, and Bob Myers, last night, the general manager of the Golden State Warriors, getting very emotional at the microphone after Kevin Durant injured himself again in a game that a lot of people are wondering why he was playing. Can you walk me through the process of a front office and putting a player on the field that's significant, clearly, for the franchise? Carson would be a perfect example, who is hurt, banged up, and the concept of putting him into the fray in that regard?
Yeah, first, Bob is a friend and, someone, you obviously, you're in that situation. We were in that situation. A couple years ago, we were down in L.A. and Carson got hurt, and I think the one thing it does is it gives your leadership, your team, the character of your team, an opportunity to do something special and really kind of do it in that person's name, really. And they have a great opportunity, and they have such great character and leadership on that team. From the front office coaching staff on down, that I know they'll rebound, and wish them the best of luck as they go forward. But, I think a lot of times people don't understand this process, which I get. And really, it's controlled by doctors and your medical staff. And not only that, but you have so many outside consultants when you're talking about superstar players and really all your players, that nobody's just getting one opinion on any of these injuries. Nobody's just taking, for example, the team's opinion or the player's doctor's opinion. You're getting all of those opinions together, and it's a collaboration of information. And you're not doing anything, especially when you talk about, a player who's about to hit free agency, and I can't speak to individually that situation, but they're doing everything in a way that is totally transparent for the player, for the team, and only making that decision, like I saw his interview this morning, when it's nobody's fault. Things happen. It's the nature of the game. And so I think that sometimes there's this perspective that, the team is making the call only, but you have so many people involved in these decisions on all sides, and all of these things are above board.
So what did you think of when you saw him get emotional, Howie?
It just took me back to where we were in L.A. that time, but also really throughout the course of my time here, when you have players that you care about, and they're like your kids, they're like fingers on your hands. I mean, it's hard to see guys you care about suffering and not being able to perform. And I think about I was thinking about the fact that when we were in Minnesota preparing for the Super Bowl, and we had this group of guys, and it was Carson, and it was Jason Peters, and it was Chris Maragos, and it was Darren Sproles, and it was Jordan Hicks, and those guys just working out, and while the team was preparing to play in the Super Bowl, and just feeling for them, and knowing that they work all these hours, they do all this stuff, they train just to have this opportunity. It's hard. This is why you do all that.
Eagles Executive VP Howie Roseman here on the Rich Eisen Show. A couple more minutes left with him. So let's just return, if you don't mind, to the concept of signing a quarterback for as much money as you did. This is the system now, right, Howie? I mean, like, you draft somebody, you get a couple of years of a window in their first contract to try and win with them. You did, in fact, although it was, as you point out, Nick Foles who was the one who went through that legendary run in the playoffs. But this seems to be the system right now in the NFL that at some point you're going to have to pay somebody who, in the case of Carson for injury, has never won a playoff game, never even played in a playoff game, and you're going to have to do that. Is that a good system?
Yeah, I think that's the way that we all grew up knowing this was what you do. This is the ideal system, is you get a player that you think is a superstar player at the most important position in sports, and you build around him. And you understand that guy gives you a chance to win. And we talk about how much success we had in the playoffs with Nick, but we wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for Carson and the success he had and what he did for our football team. And this guy's 26 years old. He's supremely talented. He's got an amazing work ethic, and he makes everyone around him better. And that's what you look for. And you get these opportunities, and you're hopeful that this is someone that you could build around for a long time. You know, it really goes back in 2016 when we made this trade and gave up all those picks for Carson. I thought the thing that was really the most powerful for us was that you think about the 2004 draft and the Giants trading for Eli and Phillip Rivers and Ben, and how long those guys played to be able to recoup the picks, but also giving their team the chance to be in contention every year when you have that guy. And so that's the exciting part about that, and that it puts it back on us and our responsibility to make sure we continue to get good players in here and build a team that also has some depth. And that's what we're going to continue to try to do. And you know, I think by doing it early, it gives us a better chance, even if it's just to keep one or two more players than we would have if we did this a year or two from now.
So how far in advance does someone in your position plan for that? Do you, when for instance, the Cardinals just drafted Kyler Murray first overall. Do they sit down right now and say 3-4 years from now it all works out, we got to have this much money available? I mean, how does it work in terms of planning purposes with this system?
You gotta enjoy the moment for a little bit, don't you, Rich?
Well,
maybe a year or two before you can do it, because you can't sign anyone until after they've played 3 years on their rookie deal. So I'd like to think, looking back at it now, from my perspective, that maybe we enjoyed the moment of building around it and giving him an opportunity to develop into the player he was. You know, he took a huge jump. He had a really good rookie year, but took a huge jump from year one to year two. And then you get into a position where you see him have some adversity and how he overcomes adversity and his work ethic. And again, it's just the more you know about someone, the more experiences you have with someone, the more confident you are in committing to them. And so I think for us, that's how it went. And when you have a guy who's got all these traits and you see how hard it is to find that guy, and when you find that guy, it gives you a chance to compete every year. You don't want to lose that.
So you're telling me to live in the moment, Howie? Is that your way of telling me to live in the moment right now?
I like the moment, Rich. I do. You know, I like the moment. There could be part of you, though, that's still got to think about the future, right? But at the same time, here, you got to enjoy. You got to enjoy the run a little bit.
I know. Unfortunately, some teams don't let you do that. And I guess in the last couple of minutes I have with you here, what are your thoughts on a couple of your colleagues losing their gigs in between the draft and the beginning of the summer? Howie, and one of them in New York led to you losing Joe Douglas in your front office. What is happening in our business right now?
Like the Godfather movies. This is the life we've chosen.
That's right. You're going Hyman Roth on me. You just went Hyman Roth on me.
Right off the top of my head, that's where you know where my head is.
This is the business we've chosen.
Season. Yeah, it's a tough business. It's a very bottom line business, and sometimes even the bottom line doesn't always work out. And you hate to see good people, be out of a job, and it's just, man, you understand when you get into this that you got to win, and you got to surround yourself with good people on and off the field, and all of us are just a product of the people that we have around us. And you talk about Joe and what a great guy he has been for all of us, and what a great opportunity he has in New York. But we'll miss him, and it stinks. It stinks to lose good people. It stinks to lose good players, and I guess that's the price of having some success. So I'm hoping that maybe we continue to lose good people and good players, because that will probably mean we're still doing well.
Howie, thanks for the call. Enjoy whatever downtime is coming your way, and we'll chat down the line, training camp and beyond. I really appreciate it.
Look forward to it. Thanks for
You
having
got it.
me.
That's Howie Roseman, Eagles Executive VP here on The Rich Eisen Show.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.